For the IT, we are on the 4th batch already. So all in all, a total of around 50.
Wow.
50 DIT, including the Bicol region, because we have an offshore in Bicol University. We have 12 students taking up their DIT also, and they are into their last stage already.
So it's possible to attract PhD students to this Wika program.
Yes. Because in the DIT and masters, we are very flexi when it comes to their project development.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're about to start in 3 minutes. I will just take a break.
Okay, yeah. And then sa YouTube na, so bibig ko rin lang yung link doon sa Facebook.
Yes.
Ito lang.
Si Ma'am Donna daw from
Makita ya. Ipa-open. I-share namin yung link.
dito daw siya ma'am pupunta.
Ay, sige.
Yeah. So we all need to get another interview. But tayo yung mag-participate because we will have all, together natin ito ang Civika. Ito na yung YouTube feed
So
na.
maybe we can put we are live on Civika. We're live.
Send ko sa CITCS
Yes ma'am, ito po. So it's gonna share now.
Dalawa yung bibigay niya. Kung project specific, kasi si Archie pero pagdating sa ICTC mo,
Hey. Sige, so Ethan,
Yes.
ikaw ang,
Share na po natin.
and then ikaw sinong MC? We're back.
Send mo sa akin. Send ko sa faculty.
Yung link. Yes.
Sa FB. Link ko.
Sorry.
no problem. Understand.
I'm in here. I do another camera. Carol.
I have a camera.
Okay.
Pero, hindi ko alam kung ilan ang kaya niya na i-accommodate.
Then, hundreds.
Send ko na sa akin.
Yeah.
Ay, connect ba?
Okay.
No, it's okay. You can
Not yet. Ay,
Nakita mo.
wala akong connection. Innovation. Yan, sige. Mo, battery ko lang.
You're on mute.
Okay, there we go. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All good? Okay. So we are here at the UC Innovation and Nurturing Space, joined by the CEO of Wika, Mr. Roland po. We're also here with Sir Elmer from Civika, as well as Ma'am Carol. And we also have Ma'am Thelma Palawag po from the University of the Cordilleras College of Innovation and Nurturing Space joining us today. So just maybe to give a brief overview, okay, we have one more attendant. Hold on, let me bring her in.
Combination of online and offline.
She just came in right now, like right as we speak. So just to give a little overview on the UC Innovation and Nurturing Space before we begin, we are a technology business incubator funded by the Department of Science and Technology, and we are here as an incubator for to develop the ecosystem here in Baguio City and hopefully nationwide. Um, our main focus, but it's not limited to, is on criminal justice education and anything under that spectrum, like law enforcement, public safety, forensic science, and some of the software that are being developed are for these fields. But we also have projects that are in development, like financial management apps, as well as educational technology. So yun po, that is a little overview on the UCN's TBI. Maybe I should hand over the mic to Mr. Elmer Soriano po on the other line.
Thanks, Ethan. I'm Elmer Soriano. I'm with Civika Global Labs. We're a company that works with different universities and incubators to help them work on problems brought to us by partner startups and also partner organizations that are working on complex problems. We set up labs in different universities, and we have begun interfacing with their incubators, university-based incubators, as well as faculty members, so that we have better alignment between student projects, startups, and problems in our own backyard. With UC, we have been in conversation with them for a number of years. And the past couple of terms, a few interested UC faculty have worked with us to work on problem sets on urban mobility and also the pine tree infestation affecting Baguio pine trees the past few years. So that's the work of Global Labs. We have, as a lab platform, we have been able to reach out to a few interesting startups, including Wika, which was introduced to us by a common friend. And we started a conversation with Wika, with Roland, a few months ago. I thought that Wika was a really compelling startup. It's a really interesting story. So we expressed interest to work with them. We explained to their CEO role and what Civica Global Labs might be able to do for startups like Wika. So now we have this video conference so that we can have this conversation between the startup, the incubator, and then possible faculty members who have students looking for problems. So now we'd like to introduce you to Roland. Roland Bengson, he's the CEO and founder of Wika, to share with us their story and what kind of collaboration Wika might have with Roland.
Thank you, Elmer. Nice to meet everyone. As Elmer mentioned, I am Roland, one of the co-founders of Wika Media Private Limited. We are a Singapore-based startup, but founded by all Filipinos. I am in Manila today. I just flew in from Singapore yesterday. I will fly back early next week. Um, in a nutshell, I'll have more details later on, even a demo. But in a nutshell, what Wika does is we let people enjoy movies, TV shows, and videos in their own language. So whether it's English, Ilocano, Bicolano, Ilonggo, sign language, captions, um, audio description for the blind and visually impaired, any language. So um, both for entertainment and education. We have an ongoing project now with the Philippine telco for deaf education. So that is just one of the different uses of our solutions. So again, like I said, well, actually, we have both. We have an ongoing discussion now with the movie theater chain in the Philippines to allow more people, not only foreign nationals, to watch movies, but also the deaf, hard of hearing, the blind, the visually impaired. Um, Many of these malls and cinemas already have access for mobility, people with mobility disabilities, people in wheelchairs, but not for people who are hearing impaired, visually impaired. So that's on the entertainment side. We are also providing solutions on the education side. So it's essentially accessibility, inclusion, both access to education, access to entertainment, access to opportunities for employment, for learning. So that's it in a nutshell.
We would be also introducing two of our faculty members who are with us today. Ma'am Thelma Palawag po and Ma'am Donna from the College of Teacher Education. Apo. Hi, ma'am.
You want to tell something about yourself. Teacher education we are doing especially. Kasi hindi din naman teachers.
Oh, sige, you just introduce yourself, what you
Okay.
teach, your discipline.
Nagpas ka na ba?
Nagpas ako. I'm Donna Marie Oyam, sir, and coming from the College of Teacher Education. I have been teaching child and adolescent development in the past 20 years, and we have integrated learners with special needs actually in the course. And right now in the graduate school, we have special education students taking up autism, inclusive education, and there's one more course I could not. Okay, and perhaps this afternoon I'll get to know that course that we are offering. Um, some students actually, because I'm handling right now under the new curriculum by the Commission on Higher Education, is the foundation of special and inclusive education, and some students are requesting for a training for sign language. Fortunately, I got interested when you said a while back, sir, that you also provide solutions to educational concerns such as access to employment, education. We just tackled the Magna Carta for disabled persons, and there were concerns that came out from the observations of the students, like difficulty for student for people with disabilities to really find themselves in a job in the mainstream. So, but at first, we would really want to train our students so that they'll be able to handle students because they'll become teachers later on, so that they'll be able to handle students with learning needs in the future. And A lot of concern comes from the group of students with visual impairment and hearing impairment. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so once again, sir, I'm Telma Palawag, representing the College of Information Technology and Computer Science. By the way, sir, some faculties are also online. We're sitting also on the other side of the campus. So we are in the Ligarda campus, the others are in the main. So as to the technology, the College of Information Technology, Computer and Computer Science faculty do have some groups who were able to create also some projects aligned with special education. So some groups and faculty are engaged in the development of applications for autistic also. We also have some applications done by the group for deaf and mute applications and applications for the blinds. So, so that's it, sir.
Thank you. Uh, if I may reintroduce myself. Hello.
Yo, yes, yes.
Hello. My name is Roland.
Roland. Also have some applications.
Okay. So it's very nice to meet you all. My grandmother went to Philippine Normal College. She's a teacher. She's also a full-blooded Ilocana. And my dad spent many years in Baguio dodging the Japanese during World War II. He survived. So I'm always delighted when I meet educators, and much respect to educators and educational institutions. So looking forward to working on all facets of education, not just special education, but also other facets of education.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we can start talking about problem sets. Now, I imagine at least within the university, the problems are often organized per discipline. So we have at least two departments represented here. The education department, so it's the more educational problem set. And they have a course on special education. And then we also have represented the IT faculty. So I imagine that would be the more IT and hardware problem set. So maybe Roland, you can give us an overview, maybe starting with the education problem set. What kind of problems can students of education and special education take on from the Wika problem set?
Okay, going back to our elevator pitch, like I mentioned, we let people enjoy content in their own language, including sign language. So our solution is about access, right? So let's start with the deaf, since we have specific projects. There are a lot of educational videos online and offline, but the deaf cannot access them because, obviously of disabilities. So we have generally three sets. Well, right now, three. We patented about 6 designs. I will talk about 3 solutions. So one is we have an app like this, if you can see this. This app, essentially when you press the button, it will detect what you're watching, the video that you're watching. And then it will give you language options. So you can select subtitles, you can select sign language. If you select sign language, it will start playing sign language video synchronized to what you're watching. So kind of think of it as, when we were watching Kapwa Ko Mahal Ko, there's always this guy, doing the sign language interpretation. Kind of like that, but it's in a separate device. So you put this beside your PC as you're watching YouTube or your educational video, and the deaf can now see either captions or sign language video on the app. Okay. Our other patented innovation is this set-top box. Okay. Essentially, you plug in a video and HDMI. There's an HDMI port. You plug in HDMI video, it will output the same video but overlaid with subtitles. So imagine, you're watching a movie or an educational tutorial. There's no subtitles. Paglabas niya, when it comes out, it already has subtitles. So again, it helps the deaf or the hearing impaired at least access the content. This is our other solution. This is a head-mounted display. Essentially, you put this on. Okay, I'm doing it's basically kind of like an augmented reality head-mounted display. So what it does is there are two versions of this. This one is the version where you put a phone. There's a slot here. You put a phone inside. Okay. What does that do? Basically, this is a see-through screen. So you can watch a movie, or you can watch TV, or you can see, like I can see you guys now. I can see my computer screen, but displayed here are subtitles or sign language. So I can watch a movie now, but it's displaying the subtitles on this head-mounted display. So it can be used for entertainment. We're working with cinemas now to make this available, kind of like a 3D glass. But it can also be used in school, in an auditorium, for kids at home or in school. They can be watching a video, educational video, and they can now watch it with subtitles. Although this is more ideal for private viewing. What does that mean? It would be kind of rude to have an app in a cinema. You're distracting other people. So this would allow you to have private viewing. Okay, so we have other technologies, but that's good to start with. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. We also have a platform, which I can't show right now. Essentially, it's like what we call user-generated content platform. So what's an example of user-generated content platform? YouTube, where user-generated content, videos, can be uploaded onto the platform for other people to enjoy. We have a similar platform that allows people to upload subtitles, captions, audio description, even sign language video, right? For instance, a sign language interpreter can upload their interpretation of either a movie or an educational video, right? Once they upload that sign language video, other deaf kids can now watch that video with the sign language interpretation uploaded by that interpreter. Okay, so it's a scaling solution, meaning anybody can upload captions, subtitles, sign language, be it entertainment or educational interpretation. So the goal is to make a global community of contributors so that there's more access for everyone. There's more inclusion for everyone. So we could use help in the development of some of these existing solutions, as well as the next generation of solutions. So that's why we were open to Elmer's suggestion for collaboration with different universities in the Civika network of partners. And again, as you know, we will try to find the fit between the talents available in each university versus the opportunities we have. Yeah.
Okay, maybe ma'am, we can ask Ma'am Donna. Having heard this, ano kayang pwedeng contribution ng students? Learning sign language, I don't know if are they teaching some deaf students already, and how might they contribute in terms of, yeah, the work that we guys do, either through their capstone projects, term papers, thesis, ano kayang pwede? Alan.
Anybody? You have
For
to
the
unmute.
undergraduate, they are more of, because they're college students, they are still learning handling. The goal actually for example, one course, Foundation of Special and Inclusive Education, is to equip them with skills on how to handle learners with special learning needs. The outcome that is suggested actually by the commission, by the syllabus that were uploaded by Chet, is actually an infographics of these learning needs. Yun po yung outcome. And then another outcome, coming from the prototype syllabus, is the case study for students with learning needs. That's in the undergraduate po. In
Sa masters,
in the masters, since there are other teachers handling them, what I saw were mostly on case study, yung requirement po sa kanila, ano sir? Where you're asking the requirement, case studies of children and strategies on how to facilitate their learning. There are other teachers kasi handling the students, but most of them are teaching the students in the graduate school, students of special education. They're already teachers.
So I myself went to a SPED school dito sa
Yes,
Military Grado.
yes, sir.
So in our school there were hearing impaired kids.
Yeah.
So how might Wika plug into that kind of an ecosystem? We have special schools for the hearing impaired. We have teachers. We have family members. We have older students who are already fluent in sign language. How might we create a hub so that these resources can connect and contribute to Wika?
Okay. First, let me state a different problem set. I just stumbled upon this last December when I was talking to a media organization in the Philippines, an educational media organization in the Philippines. I discovered that out of the 200 or so educational districts in the country, less than half are compliant, are SPED compliant, which means there are many, many geographic areas that were mandated by law to have SPED facilities, but do not. Okay, so imagine that half the country, or at least half the districts, the educational districts, I don't really know how that's defined, but half of them are not compliant with the mandate to have SPED facilities. So there's this huge opportunity for us to make an impact. I cannot do it alone, so that's why I am looking to work with partners, including media foundations, educational media institutions, educational institutions, really a community of participants. And as a startup out of Singapore, where we have a global view in mind, so Philippines palang ubus na ako. So I really need partners. So going back to your question, Elmer, there are opportunities. Of course, the low hanging fruit would be to engage with existing SPED facilities like the ones that you visited, and maybe first explore what we can do to improve their engagement, their just the outcomes that they aspire to achieve. Two is to learn from that and see how we can replicate that so that the rest of the country is compliant. So there's opportunity there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for University of Cordilleras, not just the school, the educators, but also the students, because imagine that half the country is not compliant. So that represents opportunities for jobs, not only for the people with disabilities, but also for students who are about to graduate. There's a lot of opportunities. So, it's just a matter of identifying areas or spots of focal points that we can collaborate on. Because I'm sure University of Cordilleras cannot solve all our needs. So we'll have to focus on, high value, high quality engagement so that high probability of achieving desired outcomes. So yeah, there's lots, right? So as far as education, there's, even when we talk to, impact organizations, we talk about probably breadth, the wideness of impact first before depth. So the initial step is always enabling access. That's the easiest, right? If you have a deaf population or a blind population, giving them access is probably the easiest. Maybe access first to entertainment, get them on board, get them excited, get them be part of the collaborative community, and then work towards deepening the impact. Deepening the impact means, first, it's just all consumption, right? Consumption of content, providing access. Then the deeper you go, it's about skills development. How do we develop skills for not only educators, SPED educators, but also people with disabilities? How do we enhance their skills? By providing more access to skills development content, for one. And then later down the road, hopefully provide a path for them to gainful employment, right? So, but that's, we can't, we have to kind of, we don't want to bite more than what we can chew, so to speak. So we got to walk before we run, as the cliches go. So we got to focus. There's a lot of, both up front and down the road, there's a lot of challenges. So for now, it's really about recruiting, getting people excited, getting the deaf, the blind community excited, getting educators excited, getting students excited, not only about making an impact on other people's lives, but maybe career opportunities for them, seeing new career paths that they've never seen before. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I'm hoping, since we're the founders of Wika are Pinoy, we can also use our collaborations in the Philippines as a, stepping stone for scaling abroad. And, it could be a start. Whatever we do in the Philippines might be overtaken by more aggressive partnership elsewhere, but it's all part of the global impact that we as a community work on together. Hindi naman to Olympic competition pagalingan ng country, but ultimately we elevate each other, so to speak. But we're starting with low-hanging fruits, which are our Pinoy relationships and Pinoy contacts, roots. So I hope that answered some of your questions.
Yeah, right. So for the tech side naman, what do you have a problem set in mind? So this university is right, well, just started the trimester, and students are still looking for projects to work on for the term. For tech students, so from the software and hardware side, do you have any ideas that students may take on?
Yes. There's a lot also. So let's, since this video might be disseminated to other universities or other potential partners, I'll be broader than what may be contextually relevant to UC. So on the technical end, of course, there's the hardware side. Like I said, we're trying to evolve, create next generation set-top boxes, next generation electronics for this, next version, so to speak. On the software end, of course, there's a lot of opportunities. Our app could always, will evolve. There's always opportunity for improving our app. So contributors on the software side, our user-generated platform, think of it as our YouTube, where people can upload sign languages and captions, subtitles, audio description for the blind. They can upload content there. So that portal, that user-generated content portal, could use some web developers. So that's an area. So, app development is an area. Hardware development, any electronics, ECEs, electronic engineers, tinkerers. I used to dabble in high school with, tinkering with electronic gadgets. I can have a conversation with those engineers. Those studies that was mentioned by, Ma'am Donna and others, case studies are also useful in terms of, refining processes, refining pedagogy, for instance, pedagogy, teaching methods, a lot of opportunities, except, to be frank, those are less urgent for us. I mean, they're necessary and they're useful, but they're less urgent for us because our urgent needs are about scaling, enabling as many students, particularly disadvantaged students. The disadvantages are not limited to people with disabilities, right? There's a lot. For instance, there might be, I know this sounds esoteric, but consider this. There might be tribes out in the Cordillera region that may not speak English, Filipino well. They speak a very small, a dialect, right? So education for them might be a challenge. Our app can deliver education in their own language, right? With the help of contributors who speak their language. So it's not contained to people with disabilities, or it's not limited to that. Although that's also a large opportunity, because depending on stats you read, there are 2 to 4 million Filipinos who are deaf and or hard of hearing. So the blind and visually impaired stats are a bit less, maybe 500,000 to 2 million, depending on the data sources. So there's a lot of opportunity here, and of course, people who speak dialects. I mean, I have many friends all over the country who prefer to speak English than Tagalog, right? So yet many of the content are either Filipino or English. So what about those people? What about those kids in Tawi-Tawi who may not have, proficiency in those languages. So, in terms of education, there's really a huge opportunity beyond just people with disabilities. But we also need to focus. So partnership requires focus. So pardon my digression there. Question, Elmer. So there's opportunities both for educators, people who want to study ways to improve special education pedagogy using tools, using enabling technologies, new.
Roland, we had questions come in through the YouTube chat, and I'll ask Ethan to read off 2 questions at a time, maybe, so that Roland can answer them.
Microphone, Ethan.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
So we have quite a handful of questions here, but I don't know if they'll all be answered within the time allotted. So maybe we can start with this one from JC. He says, good afternoon. How and when did you start as an entrepreneur? And with regard to the headgear and some of the equipment, how much do they cost typically?
Okay. Thank you to all the YouTube viewers, both live and future viewers. So thank you for your participation, also for your questions. So, I'm just, as a person, I've been curious. I've been wired differently. I was born and raised in Manila, but I got a U.S. scholarship in the U.S., so I went to college there. So stay in school, work hard, so you have this opportunity. But as a kid, I was always a tinkerer. I was always creating stuff, whether it's just my own radio, AM, FM radio, or, whatever, right? So it came to me naturally. So right after college, I had my first job was in New York. My boss liked my work ethic so much that he made me a partner. We set up new companies. I developed the software for that company, and it's still running 30 years later. That software, it's still making them money, even though I left the company and I sold my ownership. So going back to your question, so I've always been innovator. I've founded different startups and different innovations. You might have heard of them. My barkada, we created Share a Load, Pass a Load, 15 years ago, where you transfer airtime credit to, somebody else. We co-founded Chika.com, for some of you who are old enough to remember that. So I've always been tinkering. So going back to your question, how much is this? This is more expensive. This set-top box that allows you to put in HDMI video, it will subtitle, about $200 because of all the electronics inside. This is cheaper, thankfully. Actually, we have the first version of this is it's like a 3D glass that has a screen in it, kind of like a smart glass. But that was expensive, so we figured not good for the emerging markets. So we developed this. So basically, this is cheaper. This will probably retail for about the glasses the first version that we developed was about 10,000 pesos. This is about, it might sell locally for about 3,000 pesos. So more affordable. If you're deaf, obviously, you don't mind spending for this since it's a one-time purchase. But you do need a smartphone to put in it. So I'm showing, you put a smartphone in it. So this will probably be sold for a couple thousand pesos. Thankfully, you only have to buy it once. It's not like a monthly subscription. So Wika was founded in June of 2018 in Singapore by a bunch of Filipino founders. I hope that that answers your question, both rating and also how much these things are.
Thank you, Paul. I think that was in line with one of the other questions I saw here, which was, did you have any previous startup companies? And then when you said Chica, that word alone brought in so much memories for me because the amount and
Tech.
to be in the presence of the one who founded.
I used to have a Gibson ES175.
Oh wow,
I sold it. This is Ibanez.
Ibanez. Wow.
Ibanez, made in Japan. I think F105. It's a hollow body jazz guitar.
Yeah,
So,
in Wika.
I have a group of developers. I used to develop myself, but I'm kind of kalawang, kind of rusty now. So to tell you the truth, I don't know what they use. Essentially, we use cross-platform tools for Android and iOS. Native, and then of course we have there's should be very easy for students to make a contribution.
Thank you for that. Here's another question. Maybe you can have two more and then maybe wrap up after that. So, one question by Mr. Carl. What is the weight of the headgear? Because he is wondering if you're using the headgear for too long, maybe the users might experience some kind of discomfort or I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, it's a very good question. The headgear itself is light plastic, so it's a function of how heavy your phone is. That's the heaviest part, right? Okay. The reason why we were looking for electronics engineers is we want to develop also the next version of this. I have a design already. I just need the partner students to execute or implement. I have a design where this has the built-in electronics already, so you don't have to put in a phone. Okay, so it's lighter because there's a lot of things here that you don't need. In a phone. So it's going to be lighter with its built-in electronics. It, of course, will be slightly more expensive because of the electronics. But I think most people asking this question are generally young. Your neck should be able to support the weight.
Yeah.
Now it has a strap, right? So I think most people shouldn't have an issue with it. Plus, also, given the choice between not being able to go to the cinema and the slightly heavier weight, I think most deaf people would rather condition themselves or adjust to the weight rather than be excluded from the social experience of education and entertainment.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe you can have one last question now then. From Mr. Red, I'm graduating next semester. Are there any job opportunities in your company?
Yes. We are an equal opportunity employer. I think I'm screening right now, even deaf developers.
Oh, wow.
So, we're talking to deaf developers around the world, but of course, we're not, it would be ironic if we're promoting inclusion, but we're excluding non-deaf people. So, yes, we're open. There's lots of opportunities. Like I said, especially when we grow elsewhere around the world, we'll be working with developers all over the place for localization, customization. We're going to have many partners, cinemas, broadcasters, educational institutions. So lots of different projects.
Okay, maybe I have a question for Ma'am Thelma. Maybe Ma'am Thelma first. What would fruitful partnership between UCNs or UC, the university, not just the incubator, but the university, and a company like Wika look like? 2 years from now, if this were a really awesome, wonderful partnership between the university and Wika, ano kayang itsura ng awesome partnership?
Opportunity given by Sir Roland and you, the Civica, we could have a high-end quality parang university, a college, specifically college muna, college of IT, IT and computer science, specializing in a particular development. Because this is a very good applications or development or projects. So the college probably could focus one core agenda could be focusing on this kind of project development. So yon, uh, 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 um, a school or a college that produces quality outputs on this kind of field, on the special education field. A collaborative, since IT and CTE is center of excellence, so the two colleges could have a good partnership, and of course with you sir and Sir Roland. So parang maganda naman yung standing. So yun, pwede viable siya.
Sige, kayo naman, Ma'am Donna. Kung kunwari may partnership over 2 or 3 years, ano yung sobrang galing na partnership for the teachers in your college and the students? So what would be?
The students. In line with what Ma'am Telma said, I think we can produce technologies in special education, which can form part of teaching strategies, learners with special needs. I'm looking forward to partnership with IT and
So a dedicated
with
college for producing
Or maybe a
projects.
program, di ba? May parang ano,
Special,
special
oo,
education.
special education, why not?
Yeah, I also like what Mom Donna mentioned earlier, which actually is in our periphery of things we want to do, which is sign language education, which at all levels, right? I mean, I've learned a few over the years because I have a relative who's deaf, and that's what partly inspired what we do. But I also see the need not only for at all levels, students all the way to teachers, because there are teachers who want to teach people with disabilities, or maybe there's an opportunity. There's a huge opportunity in SPED. Like I said, there's a large unaddressed opportunity in SPED. So skilling teachers with sign language gives expands opportunities for them. Um, so I think we want to develop that content also, that sign language education, not only for K to 12 or students, but also for educators. So, but
okay.
just to be clear, we're a technology company. We provide access, solutions, content. We prefer to partner with media organizations and educational institutions to optimize the offering. But we're not a content company per se.
Okay. Maybe, Roland, you can give a few final words before we close, knowing that we have audience right now live, and also future audiences, students and faculty members will be reaching out to other incubators in other universities. They could be viewing this. So maybe a final few words from you before we close the call.
I think in one word, Wika is about inclusion, right? It's about bridging the gap. My dad speaks probably at least 8 dialects in the Philippines. It's amazing how people light up when you speak their language. He can speak in, of course, his native Ilocano. He can speak Ilonggo, Bicolano, Bisaya, different things, right? It's amazing how people kind of warm up and open up. And the relationship starts when you break down that barrier. So I think Wika, as the name implies, is language, and we're trying to just bridge the gap to kind of hurdle or remove the language barrier. And none more important probably than the ones that are most excluded, the ones who live on the fringes of society, the marginalized, who are the people with hearing, or visual disabilities. So I think there's a world of opportunity out there for making an impact. If you can do social impact, if you can impact the lives of others and also find a meaningful application of your talent, that would be great.
Thank you again, po, Sir Roland. We really, really appreciate the time that you gave to us today and enlightening us more about the company Wika, as well as some of our faculty members, po. Although it was on such short notice that we invited them. Thank you for coming to the meeting, to the video conference, and to Civika Global Labs as well, Ma'am Carol and Sir Elmer. We'd want to thank you. And again, I'm Ethan. Thank you po again, Sir Roland.
Okay, this is how you
And we
say
look forward.
thank you in sign language. Thank you. And like that. And the way you clap is this. This is how the deaf clap.
There we go.
Okay, because obviously this is kind of, they can't hear this. So this is how they clap. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Big hand of applause to the organizers and the participants and even the YouTube participants. Thank you. And looking forward to doing something together.
Okay,
Look forward to it.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.